Hi, I'm Grayson Gotti, and these are my audience members today. Emma Violet, Mackenzie Layton, Lexi Coling, Garrison Straka, Lars Smith, and Reese Thorson. IVF, or in vitro fertilization, is ever-changing and has developed tremendously in the last 50 years. Advances in cattle reproduction may not only alter the way cattle look and perform, but the advancements are coming faster than ever. Yet there are many pros and cons still associated with the process in livestock. Although you may think it might not affect you now, with the changes coming as fast as they are, there's a future in changes to disease resistance as well as meat quality. I'm Grayson Gotti, and I will be teaching you about the basics of IVF and the pros and cons of in vitro fertilization and the advancements that have been made in the bovine industry. IVF all begins with collecting oocytes or unfertilized eggs. They're aspirated during IVF using a specially constructed probe that is equipped with an ultrasound transducer that makes it possible to see the ovary while retrieving eggs. Through this, the rectal probe is placed and the reproductive system is located. The technician then stabilizes the ovary. The transducer and the ovary are jointed, where the aspiration probe is then placed vaginally, leaving only the vaginal wall between them. A 55 centimeter needle long is then placed and linked to the probe. This needle will pass through the membrane of the vagina and put into fluid-filled follicles that are home of those unfertilized eggs from the ovary. The aspiration follicle contents are collected and put into a searchable filter. The filter is then brought into a lab, rinsed, examined, and put under a microscope, where the oocytes are then removed, counted, and categorized by quality. This is what that process would look like. And this is actually the process being done on one of my very own cattle back home. And this is similar to what a lab would look like. And this one's actually inside the van where this procedure is performed. The process has been advanced tremendously, and there are so many positives associated with IVF that include the following. By producing numerous offspring of top-producing animals, or as many farmers know them as donor cows, this cuts down on generational gaps, increasing reproductiveness effectiveness, and helps our cattle herds advance rapidly by using the most current in vitro fertilization procedures. According to Transova, some breeders using IVF to maximize the impact of their very best cow. One donor currently in the clinic has been worked 10 times in approximately a 5-month period and has made 80 pregnancies. This also happens to be a donor that came in because she was no longer producing embryos on her own. Another client wanted to work on rapidly increasing the size of his herd. In just 2.5 months, he aspirated 10 heifers 5 times, which allowed through reverse sorting technology for him to only produce female embryos. He ended up with 103 pregnancies. Another client wanted to maximize the use of a rare straw of semen. They aspirated 9 cows total and fertilized the oocytes with 1 straw of semen. This resulted in 252 fresh and frozen embryos. These are not typical results, but are powerful testimonials to the great tool of IVF. Having access to a procedure that can be performed often without any harm to the animal makes huge generational changes much faster than ever before. Unlike any other procedure, retrieving eggs there's no shot schedule required, making it much easier for not only producers as well as the livestock being performed on. Many procedures such as CEDARS or flushing require follicle stimulating hormones, or FSH. Conventional flushing is an in vivo process, which means the eggs are first fertilized before being removed from the animal. Whereas IVF is a process taking the unfertilized from the donors to then fertilizing them in a lab to produce the embryos, 8 days after the ovum pickup. IVF does not require any shots and is all natural process based on the natural heat cycles of the animal. According to Vital, our field trials don't only show a difference in the number of oocytes collected or the quality with or without use of FSH. Now, of course, unlike anything else, there's still disadvantages associated with the process. No doubt, when a cow's uterus is the most ideal environment for the development of bovine embryos, as a result, lab-created embryos are not quite as resilient as those from the cow themselves. Expect lower conception rates, and the embryo's ability to be frozen is completely altered. For example, if 20 embryos is retrieved, it is unlikely that all 20 embryos will be viable. It is typical to only have 6 quality embryos if 20 are collected. AI, or artificial insemination, have much higher conception rates than most embryo transfers. Vitel says an anticipated pregnancy rate between 5 and 10% lower than anything artificially inseminated. A grade 1 pregnancy of a fresh embryo is close to 45 to 55%, while grade 2 is all the way down to 35 to 40%. The grade 1 rate for frozen embryos is close to 45. The average may change depending upon the breed though. To help improve, the majority of businesses will only recommend fresh transfers. Because of the industry has not yet developed a procedure for cryopreservation. IVF embryos will result in acceptable results. Another disadvantage to IVF is large offspring syndrome, in cattle being born abnormally large, and can occasionally happen. These occurrences are extremely rare and often are caused by matings where large birth weights are expected. As previously discussed, there is trouble with preservation of the embryos. However, a lot of research has been done to advance this. One of the biggest advancements is storing the fertilized eggs. For many years, only fresh embryo transfers were possible. Transova Genetics, though, has been working for strategies for freezing IVF embryos and has attained a good pregnancy rate. Not only are advancements being made for farmers, but soon enough, changes will be in our very own kitchen. According to Science Daily and research done by Kent University, this technology is being used in dairy cattle to utilize cattle with high milk production. The dairy industry is shrinking, and this to be able to increase milk production with the same amount of cattle is a huge step. Embryos are also being selected for meat quality. This way, there will be less waste at the time of harvest. This improves efficiency from farm to table production. And as farm production is a continual issue in the industry with a climbing population rate, we're unable to keep up. The bovine industry advances every year, and IVF only quickens that process. Top performing livestock are being utilized to improve programs with different program intentions. Whether to improve quality of livestock or improve food quality or production rates, change is coming faster than we may know it. Not only is change coming to the farm, but to our plates, with alterations being done on the embryos to improve meat quality. Although there are still many disadvantages to the process, companies like Transova and Vitel and various universities work to change that for the improvement of each program that they are a part of. With advancement coming annually, the future is bright for the bovine industry and families putting food on their table.